You ever have one of those nights where it feels like your whole life gets kicked over like a hornet's nest? That was me, still clutching my weekend bag in one hand, my golden retriever's leash in the from the HOA, looking like she'd just nabbed the Zodiac killer, yelling, "Officer, that's him. The intruder at 214 Pine Meadows." Now, I'd barely set my bag down before the taller cop asked me to keep my hands visible. Calm voice, hand on his belt, trying to look friendly. My dog Rusty just sat at my feet, tail wagging like none of this was a big deal. Meanwhile, Karen was already halfway through an Emmy-winning performance, explaining how I'd abandoned the property and she was just checking for safety. Never mind the fact that my keys, my SUV, my whole life were sitting right there. Clear as day. You know what I mean? I had to explain about the storm at the lake, the power flickering, the whole reason I was home early. But Karen, clipboard clutched like a shield, wasn't backing down. She wanted to make sure everyone heard. He's been letting his trash sit too long. Like that was proof I was a criminal mastermind. Thing is, Pine Meadows loves drama, front row seats to anything out of the ordinary. Jenkins, the old army guy next door, stood by with his arms crossed, and across the street, the Morales twins watched like it was World Cup finals. The officers asked for my ID. I handed it over, along with every key I owned, even the ugly one for the HOA pool gate. I tried to crack a smile. Nobody took the bait. The real weirdness started when the cops stepped up on my porch to check the lock. One bent down, studied a scratch by the latch, and before he could say much, my phone buzzed with a doorbell cam alert. Motion detected 12 minutes ago. The moment froze. I flashed back to buying this house 3 years ago after my divorce. Plain brick ranch, maple tree, decent neighbors. The HOA had promised community and common sense standards, but after 1 week, I figured out Karen was more about rules than welcome committees. She'd given me a magnet, a binder full of policies, and a handshake that lasted just a hair too long. "We keep things nice here," she'd said. I tried to play along. Coiled hoses, painted mailbox, even rehung holiday lights for the clubhouse. But the notes kept coming. Flag too loud, lawn half an inch too high, cousin's kayak in the driveway. Always signed with a smiley face, and "Thank you for keeping Pine Meadows beautiful." I figured that was just her way. You let people have their quirks, right? Kindness, my mom always said, start there, stay there if you can. But sometimes patience just gets you steamrolled. Fast forward. I'd gone to the lake cabin, left my porch light on a timer, gave Jenkins a spare key, and was back early because of the storm. But when I pulled in, my porch light was on, the side gate was open, and there was Karen, rearranging my welcome mat like she owned the place. She insisted it was just routine safety. After all, houses can't look empty. She claimed she hadn't been inside, but something about her tone made my skin crawl. Then, because this is how my luck runs, she calls the cops, and here we are. The officers asked for more proof, so I handed over utility bills, insurance, even showed them my camera alerts. Karen grumbled that documents can be faked. Jenkins finally stepped up, steady as a boulder, and vouched for me, saying I'd told him about the storm, given him the spare key. Karen wasn't impressed. Standards are standards, she muttered. But when I offered to open the door, show the alarm code, the officers agreed, so we walked up together. Karen trying to wedge herself in, the taller officer holding her back with one arm. I punched in my code, opened the door. The handle turned too easily. The familiar smell, coffee, pine cleaner, dog fur, hit me, but under that was a sharp, metallic note. "Hold up," said the taller cop, shining his light at the welcome mat. He peeled it back, revealing a brass key with an HOA tag and a muddy half-moon print, like the bottom of a sandal, ground into the wood. "Why is my key under his mat?" Karen blurted, catching herself too late. That's when my doorbell cam chimed again, and dispatch radioed that records confirmed me as the homeowner. Another ping. Motion detected. Just as the officers started to step inside, a metallic clatter echoed from the kitchen. Everyone tensed. Rusty growled low. Then, suddenly, a figure moved in the hall. A red-tagged key flashing in the light. The cops shouted, "Police!" and a pale, shaking teenager stepped into view. Eric, Karen's son. Hoodie soaked, hands up, trembling. The neighborhood erupted. Eric confessed, "I just needed somewhere to stay. Mom said you were gone." Karen tried to cover, but Jenkins thundered, "You trespassed and dragged your own kid into it." I stared at Eric, a scared, exhausted kid, not a hardened criminal. My anger fought with pity, but before anyone could catch their breath, Mrs. Long piped up, "Check the garage." The officers moved fast. When they raised the door, the beam of their flashlights hit a stack of boxes marked confiscated property, pending fines, each box tagged with an HOA stamp. Inside, neighbors' stuff, garden gnomes, basketball hoops, hoses, even a grill grate. Mrs. Long burst into tears when she saw her lost ring in a velvet pouch. The Morales twins found their missing soccer net. Karen claimed, "It was official. Clubhouse storage was full. Nobody was buying it." Then came the twist. The HOA treasurer, Derek, was caught behind my shed, crowbar in hand, trying to secure the property. When pressed, he confessed he'd helped stash things for Karen, swearing he was just following orders. Neighbors started shouting about deeper corruption, wondering how many more board members were involved. The officers found a lockbox of HOA cash buried in a ditch, skimming dues, embezzling right under our noses. One by one, more board members were dragged into the mess. Cynthia, Roger, Linda, some crying, some defiant, all caught as backup patrol cars rolled in. Just when you thought it couldn't get any wilder, a shadowy figure bolted from the clubhouse, smashing a window and disappearing into the storm with a laptop full of secrets. And as the fire trucks finally arrived to douse the clubhouse, set ablaze to destroy evidence, no doubt, the whole neighborhood stood out in the rain, watching everything Karen had built go up in flames. She sobbed, broken, while her son was rushed to the hospital after an asthma attack. Derek stood in handcuffs, and the board members were herded into police cars. But here's the thing. After all that chaos, betrayal, and humiliation, something new started to grow. The neighbors met in living rooms and garages, decided to dissolve the HOA. Replaced it with a volunteer committee, no more fines, just trust. Jenkins mowed lawns for free, Mrs. Long baked pies. The Morales twins started a soccer league, and for the first time since I moved in, Pine Meadows actually felt like home. But the shadow with the laptop? Never caught. Every now and then, I'd catch a flicker near the woods, a hint of secrets still out there, waiting. But I wasn't scared anymore. I stood on my porch with Rusty, looking out at my neighborhood, a little scarred, a lot wiser, but finally free. So, you tell me, where do you draw the line between kindness and letting people walk all over you? What does justice even look like in a place like Pine Meadows? And yeah, where are you watching from? Because I get the feeling stories like this aren't as rare as we want to believe. Drop your thoughts below. Who's really right? Who's really wrong? And what would you have done if it was your house?